Are you a coach, consultant, or service provider who's frustrated with the growth of your business? You're in the right place. I'm your host, Laurie-Ann, and you're listening to Be in Demand, where I talk about how to leverage speaking opportunities to grow your business, get positioned as the expert, and monetize your expertise. Let's get on to the show. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here today. This is the monthly Speaker Circle community call where I do a free training on some aspect of speaking, and you also get a chance to ask me questions about today's topic. And then we're going to go around the room and everybody can introduce themselves, because one of the things that I find that speakers aren't doing enough of, especially if you're a coach or a consultant or a service provider, is building relationships with other speakers, other people who are using speaking as their best form of marketing. Because one of the best things that you can do is to actually help other meeting planners after you finish speaking. Who else can I introduce you to? Being that source of reference for others. We are going to be talking about one of those mistakes that I see a lot in the speaking world, especially if you're a coach, a consultant, a service provider. You get this opportunity to go and speak. Let me share everything that I know. And I want you to have a goal when you walk into this. If you're not converting your audience, whether that's an in-person audience or a virtual audience, if you're not converting at least 33% of the audience, then this is going to be a great training for you. A modest goal for you is to aim for 50% of the audience. Depending on what your offer is and what your call to action is, those numbers could actually be a lot higher. It also just depends on what it is that your goal is. So there are a couple of different goals that you can have. That's part of my foundations module. Where do you want to end up? Why are you speaking? One of the goals, one of the questions that you need to answer. What is it that you want to accomplish by speaking? I always tell all of my clients, you never want to speak for the sake of speaking. You need to have an intention, a goal for why it is that you're speaking. It might be to grow your email list. Let me grow my email list. Let me find the right places that are filled with my ideal clients. It could be that I want to get more clients. I want to get people on phone calls. That can be your goal for speaking as well. You'll have your goal for speaking. And it could be as simple as, I need some new video. I need some updated photos. I have a friend of mine who is actually doing a TED Talk here in the Boston area. And his whole reason for doing this is to add some updated video to my sizzle reel. I want some new photos. And so I told him, I said, make sure you invite me. I'm happy to take photos from the audience. So what is your goal for speaking? And I would love it if you want to type that into the chat. I would love to hear what your goal is for speaking. And I'm asking you in general, what is your goal for speaking? But per event, I want you to have a goal for speaking. So that is one. And the second goal that you should be thinking about is, what is the offer? What do I want the audience to say yes to? Going back to that 33 to 50% conversion rate. What do you want the audience to say yes to? So just like your GPS system, like I am leaving for New York City tomorrow, so I'm typing in the address of the hotel that I'm going to be staying at. And thank you, Apple. It's going to give me 3 different routes that I can choose from. But I know exactly where I'm going to. So that's your goal. Now, with Apple and my GPS, I have these choices. And you'll have those same choices as well when you are crafting your presentation, when you are crafting your signature speech. You'll be making those choices over and over again, but you're making those choices based on your goal, the destination. So the goal that you have for this particular speech. So 2 different goals that we are setting here. So some of the mistakes that I see is there is no congruence in the talk and the call to action. Somebody has this beautiful presentation, and then the call to action just doesn't make sense for the audience. It's not a natural next step. for people to say yes to. So whether it's to get on a call, whether it's a lead magnet, make sure that your call to action, what you want the audience to do, is reflected in your presentation. Mistake number 2 that I see people making a lot is they overteach. They are being asked to speak for anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes, and they want to teach everything that they know. And when you try to teach everything that you know, one, it's going to take a lot more than 30 to 60 minutes. Like, there is no way that I'm going to teach you everything about speaking in 10 minutes, everything about crafting an in-demand signature speech in 10 minutes. So what happens when you overwhelm an audience? They do nothing. So we want to have these boundaries around our speech. And what I found very fascinating is they did a schoolyard playground study years ago. And the study was what happens to children when there is a fence around a playground versus no fence around a playground. And what they found is that when there are these clear boundaries, when there's the fence, the children actually play in all of the playground. They take up all the space. But when there is no fence around the playground, they stick to just the equipment, just the center. Now, the way that I see this as the way that it relates to speaking, and this is what I want you to take away from this, is that by not having those boundaries, you're stuffing as much information into the speech as possible, but you're going to end up overwhelming your audience. And when you overwhelm your audience, they actually do nothing. So I want you to build that fence around your speech, knowing where you want to get to. And so everything that's in the speech is in congruence with the goal, the destination, the goal that you have for the audience, whatever that call to action is. So don't teach everything that you know is going to help you out. How could you simplify what you are teaching to an audience? And then decide from there. Just to share with you a story about one of my clients. He had a goal for the audience, because that's what we do. We set the goal in the beginning, and then we set the goal for the speech. So the goal that he had set for the audience, he was speaking for 12 to 15 minutes. Very short presentation. And in that speech, his goal was to inspire, educate, and inform the audience, and also to congratulate them. That was the goal for the audience. His goal was something very different. His goal was to be outstanding on the stage. His goal was to get referrals so that he could be called back next year. He could be referred to other places to speak that are of this particular similar situation. He was getting video, he would get testimonial. So he had other goals for this speech. Those were his boundaries, and he stuck to it. That's what I wanted to share with you today, is to have those goals. So each time that you're about to sit down and you say yes to a presentation, I want you to write down your goal for that particular talk. What's the goal for the audience? What do you want them to think? What do you want them to believe? What do you want them to do after they hear you speak? So those are 3 great questions that I always ask all of my clients. Actually, that's how I wrote my first 2 books on leadership, was when the reader finished reading the book, what did I want them to do, to think, or to believe? And then I wrote every single chapter the exact same way. Let me know what questions you are, because this is now the open Q&A. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask whatever questions you have.
So how do you not do a total brain dump?
How do you not do a total brain dump into the audience? Well, you should be doing your total brain dump before you put your presentation together. I am such a visual person, and I actually have some pictures of this. I will use sticky notes about all the different ideas. This is what I do when I'm just starting to build a new keynote speech, a new presentation. I'll use sticky notes and I download all the different ideas and the stories, and then I literally, Lawrence, stick them on the wall. So that way I can see exactly where they are, knowing what the goal is, because I'll make a sticky note that has the goal, my goal, and the goal for the audience. What doesn't fit? You use the goal as the lens to now look through your brain dump. Does that help you? Wonderful. That was a great question too. Thank you. Who else has a question?
I'll go. So I've actually never spoken to an audience. So I'm just now starting to get into that. The more that, I'm definitely into human design, gene keys, astrology, all of that good stuff. And so the more I'm living by design, the more I know I need to get out there and be in front of people and seeding myself into my networks. And I'm a 4-6 reflector. So I'm meant for that. And so I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone and put myself out there more. So I guess my question, it feels like it might be a little simple, but what do you do when you're first getting started?
Okay. That's a great question. And here's what I'm going to guide you to. I do these speaker breakthrough sessions, which are live coaching. Those are episodes on my podcast. You will find those on Thursdays. But for you, I would say go listen to the episodes that are on Thursday. They're called Speaker Breakthrough. And there's a number of them where people are like, I'm just getting started. And I'm a 4-6 manifesting generator myself. So you're going to be perfect for speaking. And I only know enough about human design to make me dangerous.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
I guess I'll go. So I would love some, some brainstorming support or help in thinking of what is my offer. So I actually do have a opportunity to speak next week. I'm going to be speaking locally where I'm at with the group at Creative Mornings. So it's a group of creatives that is sitting in the room. And I don't know what, besides inspiring them, there's a theme. The theme is pattern. And so my unique take on that is talking about pattern from a brain standpoint, as far as the patterns that we fall into, because so much of my work is about combating autopilot.
Okay.
But I just feel like I just want to tell them that thing.
A couple of questions for you, because you might be overthinking this. What are some of your lead magnets? Give me one of them.
Oh, I guess technically the lead magnet is that I host a leadership playground weekly.
And how can you tie that into what you're speaking about next week?
That is just a place to practice.
Okay.
Breaking out of that autopilot.
So that could be your goal, is you are teaching all about these patterns, and why don't you come and sign up for this XYZ program? And this is a session where we all practice doing this.
Yeah.
But you would let's offer that.
What feels hard for me is then a talk is in my mind. And again, I might be overthinking this, like you said, is wildly different than the playground that I host.
So why do people join the playground?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
You do know. But the reasons why people join the playground, can we tie that into the talk that you're giving next week so that you talk about these different patterns and how to actually practice them? And hey, why don't you come and practice them in this live session? And they also get more time with you.
Yeah. So then I'm kind of talking to them about the power of a pattern interrupt, which is the full point of the playground.
Yes.
Okay.
So then they get to experience it firsthand. And you literally can say, there is no way that I can teach you everything about patterns and pattern interrupts. But if you come into, I host these particular type of sessions, you're inviting them in there. I'll dive more into, and I'll actually do some hot seats. I'm just guessing, you might do hot seats, and we break down some of the pattern interrupts. How does that sound?
Yeah, it's literally like a playground. I host a facilitated play. So it feels very different than talking versus playing. So I think that I just have to, but that makes sense.
Okay. So think about the lead magnets that you have or this particular live event. How can we guide people there so that that's the next step? so that at the end, people are raising their hand, they're saying, yes, I want to be there, and they're signing up. Because again, it makes sense because of everything you taught and spoke about in your presentation. It's kind of like following along the yellow brick road.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then, yeah, Jennifer said think of it as a lecture versus a lab, and that's super helpful.
Yes.
I just need it visualized. Like, how does it fit?
Perfect. Yeah, because we go from the lecture, like I'm thinking chemistry class and in college, I went from the classroom, and then there was another day that I had to spend in the lab that deepened learning of what we learned in the classroom and in the book. That's exactly what you're doing. So thank you. That was a great analogy. Thank you. Who else has a question?
So I'm curious how this translates to kind of a corporate setting. Like if I'm giving a talk at an ERG and the bulk of what I do is consulting and training, what are some, I don't know, like framings for, the ERG might not be hiring me back, but maybe there are leaders who are there that I would want to, pique their curiosity so that they would want to bring me back for a larger training. Do you have suggestions around that?
Okay, this is a fantastic question. And you're right, you might not get invited back right away. It might be a year or two, but what would happen if you got people onto your email list to keep learning more, stay in your world? Because you never know when somebody who is in that audience joins your email list, and then they're in a position to hire you. They could be on a committee for a particular program. And I mean, I'm literally thinking back to an insurance company that I did some work for. And it had been probably 4 years until they brought me back. And it was a fantastic experience both times. But those people joined my email list and stayed on my email list as well. And the person who recommended me was still on my email list. So let's not overcomplicate and say, well, I'm not speaking for like a nonprofit or like a business conference. I'm actually speaking in corporate. There really is no difference. I still want you to have a goal for that event. And I want you to have a goal for that presentation for the audience. You want to get brought back. Doesn't mean it has to be right away, but it could be right away. Depends on how you plant little seeds within the presentation. That would be another idea. And then also having a post-speaking process. That's another thing that I see a lot of newbies don't have, some sort of a post-process. And just following whatever that process is, like your SOP, and it's like, here it is. This is what I do at the end of each presentation. Does that help you, Jennifer? Wonderful. Who else has a question? Marshall, Jen, and Vicky, I know that you're on your phone, but if you have a question, just feel free to unmute. Marshall, you're good. Fantastic.
Yeah, I have no particular questions as it pertains to what you shared here in your workshop. So this is great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, then if there are no more questions, and he says, can you tie in defining goals for the newbies that are just starting out? So Mandy, I would say it's exactly the same thing. So why is it that you want to speak? Because again, I don't want you to be speaking for the sake of speaking. I want you to have a goal when you speak. And if you're just starting out, maybe it's I just want to get my feet wet. I want to practice. I want to try out this particular keynote, this particular breakout session, this particular workshop. I want to see how well this goes over. You give that workshop, that talk, and then you wait to see what's the feedback so that you're getting more information in. Here's the pieces that we're missing. Here's where I over-explain things. And it's also a great way of, hey, there were 30 people in the audience and only 2 people signed up for whatever your offer was. Let's say it's just a lead magnet, or maybe it was to book a call. And you're just like, let me look at those stats, because only 2 people out of 30. So where did I go wrong? Where could I improve? Because it could be the call to action, or it could have been, did I overteach? Overteaching is probably one of the biggest mistakes that I see. And I come from the healthcare world, and boy, do doctors know how to overteach. I had to maintain a unbelievable amount of credits every year. And so I had to attend these sessions and their visuals were terrible. So I'm now working with some doctors and trying to help them change their presentation style as well. Okay. So I hope that answers your question, Mandy. Okay, if there are no more questions, we're just going to go around the room. I would love for you to introduce yourself, where people can find you, and feel free to also use the chat to drop all your links as well. Share with everybody who you are, what you do, and what do you speak on? What is your topic? As I shared before in the beginning, speakers need to know speakers. Building relationships with other speakers is also another method to help you get booked. So, Mandy, would you like to start?
Put in the spotlight as the first person.
But yeah, sorry.
You were strategic about that, weren't you? So I'm Mandy Picey. I do personal branding, show it website design and marketing for thought leaders, change makers, people who are in like personal growth, self-discovery, mental health, all of that space. And what I would like to speak on is the power of intentional personal branding and how you can tie in human design, gene keys, astrology into your branding to show up a little bit more authentically and to just experiment with that, really. My background is in advertising and marketing. So I come from like advertising and marketing firms. And so I just feel like with branding being such a foundation, it is like it's what keeps everything, all your marketing pieces moving, really. It's like your blueprint. So with that in mind and experimenting with your personal branding intentionally, I feel like is key.
Very good. And Mandy, you have an evergreen topic, so I would pick a couple of industries and just focus on them.
Okay.
Jennifer.
Hello, I'm Jennifer. My pronouns are she and they. I am a neuro-inclusion accessibility consultant, speaker, and trainer, as well as leadership development coach. And I already forgot all the questions that you wanted.
Well, I know who you are. I know what you speak on. Where can people find you?
People can find me most active on LinkedIn, so I'll share that in the chat. And my two main kind of areas of that I talk about are neurodivergent burnout, as well as leading with curiosity, which is a neuro-inclusive framework for culturally responsive leadership.
Fantastic. You too have a very evergreen topic and should focus in, because leadership is also very broad. And I would focus on a couple of industries and just go all in on them. Lawrence.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lawrence Fox from Accounting Wizard Solutions, and I am the bow tie wearing, fountain pen wielding, online CPA. And I work with coaches, consultants, and creatives who'd rather have root canal than do their books.
I love that.
Okay.
You get bonus points for the most entertaining, but I do love that about you, Lawrence. And I've known Lawrence for a bit and knew that he was going to talk about his bow tie and his fountain pens. Him and I have fountain pens in common.
You too.
Fantastic. Thank you.
When you find me hanging out on Facebook and at my website, and I'll put the stuff in the chat in just a second. And when I talk, it's a couple of things. One of them is the 5 things that make me go ARG, Accountant Edition. And the other one is how to know when it's time to add a bookkeeper to your business.
Love that. Thank you. Marshall.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Marshall Gillen. I'm the founder of Top Paid Speaker. I help speakers grow and scale their business by hosting their own event. But when I'm speaking on stage, I am an attempted suicide survivor. And so I talk about your message. And my goal of speaking is truly just to get other leaders to step up and share that vulnerable story that they don't want anybody else to know about. Because I'm convinced that if we get enough leaders telling their stories and sharing their message, like that's how we inspire and change the world. And so that's what I do. That's what I speak on. And yeah.
Thank you very much. Storytelling for authenticity and opening other people up. I think as leaders, we have to be role models. So thank you so much for the work that you are doing. Jen.
Hello, friends. My name is Jen Espinosa Goswami. I live in Minneapolis here, and I'm an ICF certified speaker coach, former health coach, and professional speaker. I created my company Weightless about a decade ago with the intent to bring in health and wellness workshops and lunch and learn sessions. I still do those on the side as like a more of a passive income kind of thing. But today I'm really passionate about helping coaches, consultants, and new authors get paid to speak on stage. And that could mean everything from getting a speaking fee to show up to, being able to sell from the stage without annoying your entire audience. So that's what I do today. And super excited to meet all of you.
Thank you. And I'm not going to try to ruin your first name, but I'm just going to call on you as the playful leader. And can you tell me how do I pronounce your name?
Think of the childhood nursery rhyme, along came a spider and sat down beside her.
Thank you.
I'm Betsaida, also known as the Playful Leader on Instagram, so that's where you can find me. And I really am all about leadership, and laughter is my thing. I teach playful leadership, which is a framework that I created. And the topic that I talk about, obviously, are playful leadership. I also talk about authenticity and what does it mean to be authentic as a leader and at work. So a lot of things that other people were saying, Marshall, totally. I'm like, yes, be more real. That fake pretending everything is fine. It literally, people are dying. So we need to be more authentic. And then the other thing that I also talk about is balancing creativity and collaboration. So who I talk to mostly are kind of creatives that are not in creative field, who feel like they're trying to balance, all of these ideas and with living in kind of a corporate space and like helping them manage that.
Thank you. Thank you for your work also. And again, you have I'm going to say the same thing again. You have an evergreen topic, and being able to focus on a couple of strategic industries would be huge for you as well. And if everybody would just type in their Instagram handle, because I would love to follow you all. And last but not least, I'm just going to open it up. Vicki, did you want to introduce yourself?
Hello. Thank you for this great session. So, Vicki Dixon, and I teach people how to craft a message that is completely aligned with who you're here to be and what you're here to say and who you're here to say it to in your business. And I do that through your human design. And you can find me on my podcast. It's Undated Human Design for Intentional Entrepreneurs.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me for this hour. And I hope to see you on a future Speaker Circle community call. And you'll be able to sign up for that probably right away. You'll be getting an email that'll allow you to book the next session if you'd like. And I'd love to see all your smiling faces. And thank you again for joining. Are you tired of hearing crickets on social media? Wondering where to get seen by the right people? Or frustrated with the growth of your business? Then the Speaker Breakthrough Session is just for you. During this free 20-minute discovery call, I'll help you recognize where you're leaving money and opportunity on the table. You'll walk away with tips and a strategy to leverage speaking opportunities to get positioned as the expert, visible to the right people, and monetize your expertise. Book your call at speakandstandout.com/SBS for Speaker Breakthrough Session.